I know this sounds a bit heavy, and I'll admit that when I woke up this morning, I even thought, do I really want to do this today? Like, am I really in a headspace to talk about medical trauma? And if you're not, I get it. I promise you we're going someplace good with this. And the reason I decided to talk about it is because I thought about the fact that it's been 17 years that I've been waiting to figure this out, despite all my research and all the people I talked to. So I just didn't want to go one more day without putting this out because I know how helpful it is to normalize it. And even before that, help people even realize what they're facing and see it more clearly so that then you can address it and know what to do about it and like, leave it behind. I finally understand something about chronic fatigue syndrome that I have been trying to understand since my very first year with CFS, which was 17 years ago. And it's been now, that means about 7 years since I've been chronic symptom free past it. So not only did I never figure it out while I had CFS, it's taken me this long since recovering and all the books I've read and all the experts I've interviewed. And just now, finally, one more piece of the puzzle has clicked for me. So I remember in my first year, and I'm sure many people can unfortunately relate to this, but I got a virus and it just never went away and it was very scary. And suddenly I just felt sick all of the time. Went from being very active, working full time, going to school, doing a master's degree, part time on the side, very active social life, traveling, going to the gym, often 6 days a week, just pushing myself hard to all of a sudden just feeling sick all of the time, like I permanently had the flu. And doctors didn't know what was going on. I had to stop working, stop going to the gym, stop doing all the things, and spent most of my time in bed or on the couch, mostly in my house, feeling sick, feeling like I'd been hijacked from my life, doctors not having answers, me being in the worst shape I'd ever been in, and suddenly tasked with figuring out how to rescue myself from whatever the F was happening. And this was 17 years ago. So it's confusing today. Imagine then. And the piece of that I couldn't wrap my head around, that I didn't get to until recently, was I used to worry as I was going through it that even if somehow I managed to figure out what none of the doctors could figure out, what my mother, who had this for 25, 30 years, couldn't figure out, even if somehow I did, and I stopped feeling sick all the time, I wasn't sure how I was going to go on with my life and let go of the trauma of what I was going through. Because I could recognize in the moment, this is a trauma. I am living a trauma. And it's not something that I hear many people talking about. So in this video, I'm going to share some really helpful information and insights around this that I've learned about what exactly is happening with that, why it's not acknowledged, why it's important and helpful to understand it in the moment. It would have helped me a ton back then to understand a little bit more about not only what was going on, but also about how this fit into my recovery and then what to do about it. So, what I'm sharing with you right now comes from the co directors of the Pain Psychotherapy Center in Canada. And this is Alex Clausen and Tanner Murtaugh. And I am so grateful that they are addressing this. They spoke to this in a session at a medical conference I attended, put on by the ATNS, and it was incredibly insightful and validating. So it turns out that unfortunately, what I was going through is common and it has a term. It is called medical trauma. And this is the trauma that is caused by the onset, the progression, or the life impacts of experiencing and living with chronic symptoms. So, this is a category of trauma that is often unrecognized by physicians or even therapists most of the time, meaning that adequate treatment is rarely provided. I'm going to walk you through some common things that can cause medical trauma. And there are a lot of them, and they are a lot of things that those of us facing these chronic symptom syndromes face. So hopefully, this will be validating for you and help you have some little light bulb aha moments of, oh my goodness, yes. The reason this topic matters is because ultimately, cutting to the end, something you're not supposed to do in YouTube, I'm supposed to make you wait for it, but I'm just going to say it. Medical trauma results in nervous system dysregulation. So we walked into these conditions dysregulated. That's what's bringing on these symptoms. We know it's our brain and our autonomic nervous system stuck in a chronic sympathetic nervous system state. So that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response. And there are things in our life and our world and our internal and external world that were contributing to this. But now we have all these other things that we're going through that are also causes of nervous system dysregulation. So we've got this bucket inside of us full of things that was finally overflowing, and our nervous system just set off the alarms. And oh, that sounded more like a bird than an alarm, but you get the picture. And then our brain gives us all these symptoms saying, hello, hello, I think something's wrong. I think there's something you need to pay attention to, trying to get your attention. So we were already overflowing. And then we go through this experience, and there's these things, that was me counting, many more than five, but I'll share a few of them that further fill up that bucket. And we don't even realize it's happening. So we're like scooping out the old stuff that was there. And there's all this other new stuff being added. So to speed up the process, it's helpful to be aware of what these things are. And it's not a ton of work to address them. This doesn't mean hours of therapy necessarily, or it could, depending on the level of, what you have gone through and how you've been experiencing that. But for most of us, it just means seeing it and giving it some space, and being aware of it and releasing it so it's not further contributing to our nervous system regulation. So let's look at what are some of these specific things that we go through that could be further contributing to our nervous system dysregulation. Some common things that can contribute to medical trauma are things like scary, confusing, or conflicting medical advice. I don't think there's a one of us that hasn't gone through that. Getting insufficient information prior to doing a treatment or a procedure. Maybe you didn't know what to expect. Maybe there were side effects that you didn't see coming, and it was scary and confusing. And it can also come from just generally not getting support from the people giving you medical care, or feeling stigmatized by the people in the medical community. This is all in your head. You're just depressed. You just need to get out more. And on and on and on. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Tell me the real reason you don't want to go back to work. It can happen also when we try something, some sort of new intervention, whatever that might be, and it's unsuccessful, it doesn't work, or maybe it even worsens our symptoms. And we go through this loop of hope being built up and then hope being shattered time and time again. Of course, this can be traumatizing. Medical trauma can happen from injury that happens from a treatment, or even perceived injury. Perhaps you receive something that seemed to make you feel worse, and whether it actually did or it actually didn't, this can also contribute to medical trauma. And it can come from all of those moments of feeling overwhelmed by the intensity of symptoms or the number of symptoms, and just all of it at once can be really scary. And this comes from things outside of, the implications of our medical treatment and our medical care and the different interventions that we try. Medical trauma also comes from the experience of not being able to work, not being able to continue with your career, not being able to go to family events, to see your friends, to parent your children the way you would like to be a daughter, son, wife, husband, partner, whatever that might be, to be all of a sudden losing so many things in your life. I know we all know what that feels like, and that in itself is a trauma. We also can feel stigmatized because of what we're going through. And we also can become very isolated because of what we're going through. I remember that well, alone on the couch, day after day after day. My husband worked out of town. This was my ex husband, sometimes for weeks at a time. And he was putting in extra time because we needed the money and probably extra time sometimes just to get a break from the intensity of our house. And I don't blame him, just me and the couch. And if my brain can handle it, a book and the TV shows that I watched on repeat, and those characters feeling like my friends. Straight up, the people in Big Bang Theory were like my friends to me. I watched all the seasons that were available, start to finish, multiple times. They were like my world, just me alone in my living room. That's not good. That can cause trauma. And we know that these conditions can have cognitive symptoms in addition to physical symptoms. So, CFS, long COVID, the symptoms can be anxiety, depression, insomnia. And then you pile on top of that, they can also result in anxiety and depression. I know it's a fine line to navigate there, like what is coming from where. But going through all of this trauma can bring on like a full mental health crisis for many people, understandably. And this can result in substance use or thoughts of suicide. So we've done the heavy part. Yay for us. I didn't want to go there. You may not have wanted to go there, but we've all been there. And these minutes that we take to address it and think about it and process it and hopefully gain a couple more tools help us move forward. So let's do that. So, what this looks like for you will depend on the severity of the medical trauma that you have faced and continue to face. And the great news about this is that the path forward, the way you address this is being aware that it's happening. Because I love the saying that you can't quit smoking if you don't know you're smoking. So, when just seeing it, oh, yes, in addition to everything else, this has been hard. There are some heavy things coming at me every day. So, we just give it some space. We give it some light. We allow those feelings to come out. We acknowledge that they're there. We stop shoving them down and thinking, I'll think about that later because I don't have time to deal with how stressful it is to have a chronic condition. Because right now I need to focus on fixing the chronic condition. But once you understand all of this, you see that they are one and the same. So there is no do this first and then we'll get to that, which is what I thought would be the process. I'd get past CFS and then the trauma would hit me and I'd be like, whoa. And then I'd be going through a whole other thing. So interestingly for me, I see now why, but didn't understand it then. When I got past CFS, I was able to just leave it behind me and move forward and not feel like I had this heavy weight of trauma that I was carrying around. And I see now because it's all part of the nervous system regulation. Because for me to get better, my nervous system had to feel safe. And when it feels safe, that means that I have throughout this released some of this. And it came through all the things that I did that I didn't know what I was doing and could have been doing probably a lot more efficiently and sped up my trajectory had I understood everything. So the path forward is the things that we talk about on this channel all of the time. But what I want to share with you right now is how it was explained by these two directors of this clinic, Tanner Murtaugh and Alex Klassen. They call this the desensitization cycle because you have a nervous system that is really overly sensitive and it's been on high alert for a long time and dysregulated. So there are things that we need to do to get it feeling safe and get it more regulated. So, if you've been watching this channel or other channels and doing all the reading, none of this is probably going to sound brand new to you, but they explain a couple things in ways I've never heard explained before, which always is so helpful to me, which is why I love talking to so many different experts and getting their take, because they all have a little bit of extra or different insight that helps things click. So, this desensitization cycle has 4 steps. The first step or phase, the first component of it, let's say, it's not necessarily all linear, but just is a strong assessment, just doing all the tests and getting that evidence for your physical health. So, always step one before any of this is ruling out anything structural that requires a physical intervention to address. But if you go through all the tests and the doctors are saying, aside from your normal abnormalities, that internal gray hair that we all have of latent viruses and bacteria and some little bit of brain bone, oddities and all that stuff, if you're okay, it helps to start to allow you to feel safer in your body. Because many of us feel like our whole body is shutting down on us and that we are so severely broken and we have 19 different things that we need to fix before we can get past this. And once you get that evidence that actually your body is okay, and then you combine that with the education of neuroplasticity, how the brain and the nervous system work together to create symptoms and the difference between chronic symptoms and acute symptoms, that also helps you to move forward. So that's the first component. And then the second component, as they explain it, is exposure. And this is one of the things that I absolutely love how they explain it. So this is an element of brain retraining, and they refer to it as breaking all the rules. Because likely up until this point, you've developed a lot of rules for yourself to help you feel safe and okay and keep symptoms lower. And it starts out with bigger things, right? Oh, I can't exercise. I can't go to the gym. I can't work. I can't walk. I can't leave my house. I can't get off the couch. I can't have too bright of lights. I can't have too much noise. I can't sit up for too long. I can't eat these foods until your world comes very, very small and you just have 1,000 rules that you live in that you have to follow for things to be okay. So, the second component of exposure is about breaking the rules and slowly starting to expand activity. So, it's decreased avoidance. So, you're taking that world that's gotten very, very small and slowly giving yourself exposure to new things and widening your world and making it bigger. And then the third component is processing emotions. And for some of us, it's even just being aware of how to feel them in the first place. Some of us don't even have a lot of practice with feeling feelings, never mind knowing that we were repressing any. So, just building safety around emotions in general and learning and trusting that it's okay to feel these intense emotions, that they don't hurt you, they won't hurt you, and it's okay to let them out. So, that's component three. And then the fourth component, and I've never heard it phrased this way, which is something else that helped me to better understand it, is what they term social changes. And I would have thought, like, what does that even mean? But it's really how all of that internal work gets expressed in the world. So it's having healthy relationships, it's having boundaries in multiple environments. What does that look like in your workplace, with your family, with your friends? It is looking at that inner critic and seeing it for what it is and starting to replace it with a more compassionate voice for yourself, a kinder voice to yourself. So that is the desensitization cycle. It is safer beliefs, behaviors, and nervous system regulation leading to decreasing pain and other chronic symptoms. And that cycle keeps repeating and repeating and strengthening until your chronic symptoms are eventually gone. And what I would add to this, and I imagine they probably explain this in some way as well, but just want to emphasize that this circle that we go through, it is a circular journey, circular trajectory up towards chronic symptoms being gone, meaning that you like, ooh, symptoms are getting less. Oh, they're getting worse again. Oh, I figured some things out. I'm doing these things differently. Oh, how am I still doing that same thing again? I thought I figured that out. Oh, yeah, we're doing well again. Things are, yeah, I see we're on. Oh, whoa, what's happening here? Okay, this is not a good day. So it loops like this. And every once in a while, you just need to zoom out and see that that circular path is going upwards. And you just need to trust the process, keep doing the things, and then you're going to circle your way to where you're trying to go. And if you're still feeling a bit unsure about that whole, how do I take my small world and make it big again? How much activity should I do? How fast should I go? What should I do when symptoms come up? Should I pause until they go away or should I keep going? This comes up so much that I've started calling it the $1 million question, and I did a video dedicated just to this. I walk you through this question, which is basically a question with three parts. How quickly should I expand activity? What do I do if symptoms come up? And how do I know if I'm actually making progress? And there are specific things that help you navigate this and help you stop that push crash cycle that so many of us feel stuck in. Thank you for watching, and you can click play on this video right here, and I will walk you through just that.